1.7, learning to multiply and divide integers. We just finished adding and subtracting. Let's take a look at multiplication and division. A positive number multiplied by an integer can be written as repeated addition. If I did 3 times 4, I could just take 4 and add it together 3 times and get an answer of 12. When I throw a negative integer into the mix, it's the same process. 3 times negative 200. I'm just going to take negative 200, add it together 3 times, and end up at negative 600 from my rules of addition. From what you know about adding and subtracting integers, you can see that a positive integer times a negative integer is negative. You know that multiplying 2 positive integers together gives you a positive answer. Look for a pattern in the integer multiplication at the right to understand the rules for applying 2 negative integers. We just on the previous page went through 3 times negative 200. We got negative 600. 2 times negative 200. If I followed that same pattern, negative 200 and negative 200 is negative 400. 1 times negative 200, negative 200. Anything times 1 is just itself. Do you guys start to see the pattern? I'm getting closer to 0, so my answers are actually getting larger here. 0 times anything is 0. If I followed the same pattern, negative 1 times negative 200 must be larger by 200 every time, so that puts us on the positive side of things. Negative 2 times negative 200 is going to be positive 400. Negative 3 times negative 200 is positive 600. If I look at this pattern, I added 200 every time. So this is kind of like a proof. We talked about the other day about proving things with properties. The product of 2 negative integers is a positive integer. Because of the pattern that we have followed in this table, we can deduce that 2 negatives multiplied together is a positive just to fit the pattern of math. So multiplying and dividing, they follow the same rules. If your signs are the same, either both being positive or both being negative, your final answer is going to be positive. For multiplication and division, if your signs are different, one's positive, one's negative, it doesn't matter which one is which, your answer is going to be negative. So let's look at some examples. First, for multiplication. For part A, negative 6 times 4. My signs are different. My final answer is going to be negative. So I can just go ahead and write that negative in there and then just do the multiplication of 6 times 4 is negative 24. For part B, negative 8 times negative 5, my signs are the same. I know my final answer has to be positive. So I can go ahead and write a positive sign there if that just helps you keep it straight right now, but you don't have to. And 8 times 5 is 40. On the division side of things, I follow the same rules. For C, negative 18 divided by 2, my signs are different, so I know my final answer is going to be negative. I would go ahead and write that negative sign in right away so that I don't miss it. 18 divided by 2 is 9, and you already have that negative sign hopefully written in. For part D, negative 25 divided by negative 5, my signs are the same. My final answer is going to be positive. If you want to, at this point, go ahead and write that positive sign in just to keep it straight in your head, and then do the division. 25 divided by 5 is 5. I can also do multi-step problems with this using the order of operations and just paying attention to my coefficient in front of my parentheses to the sign with it. So first thing on simplifying for part A, let's do the parentheses. So subtract negative 6 minus 12. They're both negative, so I'm over here on the left-hand side of 0, and I just keep moving farther into the left-hand side of 0 to negative 18. Now I can go ahead and do my multiplication. My signs are different, so my final answer is going to be negative. 3 times 18 is 54, and I should already have my negative sign written. For part B, negative 5 plus 2, let's work through my parentheses first. Negative 5 plus 2, I'm over on the left-hand side, but I'm moving to the right because I'm adding closer to 0 to negative 3. Now I'm going to check my multiplication. My signs are the same, so my final answer is going to be positive. 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, another example of this. Again, my parentheses first. 14 minus 5 is 9. Now let's look at my signs. Negative 2 times 9, my signs are different, so my final answer is going to be negative. And I can go ahead and multiply that. Negative 18. We're going to look at one sports application for this, and it's golf scores. A golfer plays 5 holes. On 3 holes, he is 4 strokes over par. On 2 holes, he is 1 stroke under par. Each score over par can be represented by a positive integer, and each score under par can be represented by a negative integer. Find the total score relative to par. So I'm going to break it into two multiplication problems and add my gains and my losses together. So my losses are actually like a positive number. 3 times 12, that's on the positive side, and that's bad in golf. So 3 times the 4. And then under par, which is good in golf, fewer strokes, he had 2 holes with 1 under, so 2 times negative 1. First simplify each of those multiplication. 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times negative 1, my signs are different, so I'm going to have negative 2. And then my final thing will just be to add those two together, 12 plus negative 2, so I'm going down from 12 to 10. Good luck on multiplying and dividing integers.